A woman's deception, a black man's fight, children trapped in between. But everything is not as it appears in this astonishing custody tale. In the courtroom's silence, Jamal sat still, surrounded by the soft murmur of voices as the judge got ready for the day's sessions. Do you think that everyone deserves a fair trial? Or do you believe personal biases always seep into the courtroom? Share your thoughts in the comments. The antiseptic setting, featuring rigid wooden benches and a gavel placed conspicuously at the front, created an atmosphere that felt cinematic. Attorneys were sorting through documents, some softly conversing with their clients, while others hurried by, heels clacking on the gleaming floor. Jamal couldn't avoid noticing how chilly it seemed inside. Not merely the temperature, but the vibe itself. It was a venue intended for verdicts, for choices that might alter lives. And now, his existence was at stake. This wasn't the way things were meant to be. Is life ever fair, or do our reactions define our happiness? Let us know in the comments. It hasn't always been this way. There used to be a time when life seemed easier, when it was only him, Lauren, and the children. They were once a family, but now he was merely a man battling for his children in a courtroom, as his former partner sought to distort the narrative into something else entirely. The recollections rushed in, and before he could control it, he was experiencing it again. Jamal and Lauren encountered each other in university, a rapid love affair that astonished them both. Jamal had consistently been the responsible individual, dedicated to his future and academics. But there was an allure about Lauren that captivated him. She was joyful, impulsive, and vibrant. It was simple to become enamored with her vitality, her essence. For a time, it appeared that they complemented each other flawlessly. Jamal with his calm, concentrated outlook on life, and Lauren with her impulsive, joyous spirit. The word of the day is melancholy. Comment with this word and join our contest for exciting weekly prizes. Once they graduated, life sped up. They welcomed their first child shortly after, and abruptly, the fun-filled nights of parties and weekend trips were swapped for diapers, restless nights, and childcare routines. It was challenging, but Jamal didn't care. He cherished being a father. In reality, he prospered because of it. The aspect of responsibility, of being the reliable support his children could consistently depend on, provided him with a sense of stability. Initially, Lauren appeared to agree. She was present during the late nights, for the continuous feedings and diaper changes. However, as time passed, circumstances began to shift. The fissures started to emerge. While Jamal envisioned a future they were creating together, Lauren began to perceive something different, something that seemed more like a cage. The disputes commenced minor, nearly trivial. Do you believe small arguments are the root cause of major separations, or is it deeper than that? Join the debate below. They would argue about their approaches to parenting. Jamal favored order and discipline, whereas Lauren opted for a more relaxed, spontaneous style. It wasn't solely about parenting, however. It encompassed everything. Their realms had consistently been distinct. Jamal was raised in a tight family that emphasized the importance of hard work and accountability, whereas Lauren experienced a life of luxury where everything appeared to align effortlessly. As the months went by, the strain between them intensified. What had originally been a collaboration started to seem more like a tightrope walk. Jamal was continually balancing his work, his duties as a parent, and the pressures of their relationship. Lauren, conversely, appeared to be distancing herself increasingly. Initially, it was discreet. She would remain out longer than normal, citing reasons like work commitments or wanting a night out with pals. However, those nights out increased in frequency, and the excuses became less convincing. Jamal often found himself solo with the kids, anticipating Lauren's arrival, only for her to arrive hours later, reeking of a blend of alcohol and high-end perfume. He attempted to discuss it with her, to grasp what was happening. "We're simply in different places," she'd reply, dismissing his worries. "I require some space. I'm not neglecting the kids." Yet that's precisely how it began to seem. Lauren was drifting apart, more captivated by the nightlife and allure from unfamiliar faces than by the family they had created. Jamal, in the meantime, had to gather the fragments. He took on the roles of both mother and father, managing school drop-offs, going to parent-teacher meetings, and overseeing bedtime routines by himself. The pivotal moment happened one evening when Lauren failed to return home. Jamal remained awake, walking back and forth in the living room, his irritation increasing with each hour that went by. When she eventually entered through the door the following morning, she appeared unfazed by his presence. "What are you doing here?" he questioned, his tone soft yet tense. "I just required some time off, Jamal. Isn't that something I can have?" "It's not as if you don't have everything managed here," she remarked with a nonchalant gesture, as though her not being there was trivial. "However, this isn't solely about me, Lauren. We have children. You can't just leave whenever you want." She sighed, obviously fed up with the discussion. "You are so over the top. They are okay. You're really excelling with them," she said with sarcasm. At that instant, Jamal realized that things would never return to how they used to be. Everything they once had was lost, substituted by this empty facade of a relationship. Lauren no longer wished to be a mother, or at least not in the way Jamal required her to be. She longed for the independence she enjoyed prior to having kids, prior to the obligations. Although Jamal had come to terms with their altered lives, Lauren was still attempting to exist in a reality that was gone. In the following months, situations kept getting worse. Lauren was away from home for longer periods, and when she did return, she felt remote and detached. On the other hand, Jamal emerged as the bond that united everything. He would rise early to prepare the kids for school, make their lunches, and take them to their classes. After work, he would collect them, assist with homework, prepare dinner, and tuck them in. It was difficult, yet he did not grumble. Jamal's relentless dedication is inspiring, isn't it? For every comment on this video, a child's future could become a bit brighter. This was his family, and he was resolute in being present for them, even if Lauren wasn't. The ultimate tipping point occurred when Lauren nonchalantly revealed her intention to step back from parenting temporarily. "I just need a bit of time to sort things out," she remarked while arranging a suitcase. "You've got everything under control, haven't you?" Jamal was left speechless. "You're really going?" "It's not what you think," she responded, visibly annoyed. "I simply need some distance." "You're okay. The children are okay. This is merely a short-term situation." Yet it wasn't. Jamal understood deep inside that once Lauren stepped through that door, she wouldn't return, not in the way that truly counted. She had long since exited their lives, and thus, life continued. Jamal fully embraced the role of a single father, nurturing his kids as Lauren's calls and visits dwindled significantly. He didn't complain even once, however. He adored his kids more than anything else in the world. If this was the existence he had to endure, then so be it. He would stand up for them, safeguard them, and provide the security they needed. The recollection of those tough times dimmed as Jamal blinked, returning to the current situation in the courtroom. Are memories a refuge from reality or a reminder of what we've lost? We'd love to hear what you think. Lauren faced him, elegantly attired, with her attorney murmuring in her ear. Do appearances deceive? Can we really trust someone based on how they present themselves? Let us know your opinion. She portrayed herself as the overwhelmed single mother, yearning for assistance, while Jamal was depicted as the neglectful father, shirking his duties. It was truly amusing, given how events had unfolded. Jamal looked down at the pile of papers his attorney had organized. The reality was evident, presented clearly. Evidence that the children had been residing with him full-time since Lauren departed. Evidence that he had been funding their education, their extracurriculars, their daily necessities. Evidence that he wasn't the antagonist in this narrative, regardless of how much Lauren attempted to portray him as such. As the judge finally announced, it was time for the case to move forward. Jamal inhaled deeply. This was his time. He had experienced immense struggles, yet he wasn't going to allow that to hinder him now. He had battled for his children during the tranquil times, the routine challenges, and now he was ready to battle for them here, in front of everyone. He was prepared. Lauren approached the stand, radiating a sense of confidence that twisted Jamal's stomach. She had consistently excelled at portraying a character, and today was her chance to shine. With her hair neatly secured and her gentle, innocent look, she perfectly embodied the image of a devoted, struggling mother. The courtroom quieted, everyone's gaze fixed on her as she started to talk. Her voice trembled, yet steady, just enough to appear fragile, but not feeble. The word of the day is resilience. Comment with this word to enter our contest and win amazing weekly prizes. I've done all I can, Lauren began, her eyes shining as she wiped them with a tissue. I truly have, but it's been incredibly difficult, Your Honor. I've been bringing up these children almost entirely by myself. Jamal, honestly, he simply isn't present, not as he ought to be. Who do you believe? Jamal's quiet strength or Lauren's emotional appeal? Share your viewpoint. She paused, allowing her words to linger, letting their significance permeate the thoughts of everyone in the courtroom. Jamal tightened his fists beneath the table while maintaining a blank expression. This was what he anticipated. It was what she consistently did. Portray herself as the victim while secretly betraying him. In this sterile, formal setting, it was effective. Lauren's attorney stood, walking leisurely in front of the jury while speaking to the court. Miss Reynolds, could you share your experience of raising these children and handling everything on your own? Lauren sniffed, her voice quiet, yet firm. Who do you believe? Jamal's quiet strength or Lauren's emotional appeal? Share your viewpoint. It's been daunting. I've been responsible for everything, taking the kids to school, driving them to their doctor appointments, ensuring they're fed, dressed, and have everything they require. I accomplished everything mostly on my own without much assistance from Jamal, she said. The lawyer nodded as if her statement were undeniable, and then asked, Has Mr. Williams provided any financial support during this period? Lauren slowly shook her head, her lips forming a tight line. No, he has not. I've had to pick up additional shifts and work late into the night to ensure my kids are all right. It's been tiring, Your Honor, and it isn't just. I never chose to be a single parent. Jamal gazed forward, his heart racing in his chest. He sensed the gazes of the courtroom fixating on him, evaluating, presuming, already portraying him as the negligent, unpresent father. Lauren's performance was exceptional. and it was evident that everyone was captivated by it. He noticed how the judge's demeanor relaxed while Lauren was speaking, and the slight inclinations of the jury's heads as they related to her narrative. It was maddening. He wished to rise, to proclaim the truth, but he understood it wasn't his moment yet. He remained silent, his jaw clenched, while Lauren persisted in crafting her fabrications. The lawyer's tone became more subdued and serious. "How has this impacted you emotionally, Miss Reynolds? It must be extremely hard to bear this weight by yourself." Lauren sighed, her shoulders drooping slightly to convey the performance. "It's been heartbreaking. My children, they long for their father. They can't comprehend why he isn't present, why he fails to appear for them, and I lack the answers for them. I am unable to clarify why he chooses not to be involved in their lives. All I can do is put forth my utmost effort to provide them with everything they require. But it's insufficient. They require their father." Jamal's fist tightened even more, his nails pressing into his hands. Each word that escaped Lauren's lips felt like a blow to the face. He had supported his children at every turn, but none of that was important at this moment. What counted was the tale Lauren was narrating and the reality that the courtroom was consuming it eagerly. The judge, who had been paying close attention, leaned in a bit, his expression softening as he spoke to Lauren. "It seems you've experienced a great deal, Miss Reynolds. Bringing up children alone is quite challenging, particularly without their father's assistance." Lauren agreed, her voice breaking a little. "I've tried my best, Your Honor. I only wish for my children to enjoy the life they are entitled to." The empathy in the space was tangible. Jamal sensed it enveloping him like an oppressive burden. All were in her favor. Certainly they were. She was the weeping mother, the woman thought to have been deserted by a man too self-centered or careless to look after his children. And him? He was the quiet presence in the backdrop, the black man whose part was already determined by a society that had previously concluded what men like him ought to represent. Lauren's attorney pointed at Jamal with a faint sneer. "And what about Mr. Williams? Has he taken any steps to participate in his children's lives, whether financially or in other ways?" Lauren's gaze connected with Jamal's for the first occasion during the trial, and for an instant, her assured facade slipped. However, she swiftly regained her composure and faced the judge again. "No," she stated assertively. "He hasn't." The phrase lingered in the atmosphere, thick with blame. The courtroom was silent, the tension palpable and heavy. Jamal sensed the walls tightening around him. He was depicted as the antagonist in this narrative, and it was irrelevant that none of it was accurate. What counted was the act Lauren was presenting, along with the reality that it was succeeding. The judge directed his look at Jamal, his face expressionless, yet doubtful. "Mr. Williams, do you wish to reply? Do you think our legal system is truly blind, or does it wear a mask of impartiality? Let's discuss." Jamal inhaled deeply, aware that this was his opportunity. As he began to speak, he couldn't ignore the judge's gaze upon him, or the jury's apparent conclusion that he was guilty in their view. Guilty of being absent, of being careless, of conforming to the stereotype they had anticipated he would embody. His attorney rested a comforting hand on his shoulder, but Jamal didn't feel comforted. He sensed confinement. This was more than a battle for child support. It was a battle for his core identity as a father and as a man. At this moment, it seemed as though the fight had already been defeated. The judge gave a small nod. "We will listen to Mr. Williams soon, but For the moment, Miss Reynolds, I appreciate your testimony. We will consider it. Lauren descended from the stand, her head held high as though she had already triumphed. And perhaps she had. Jamal noticed it in how the courtroom appeared to lean in her direction. The unexpressed consensus that she was the one conveying the truth, that she was the one worthy of their compassion. Jamal sat still, his expression tranquil, even though his thoughts were quite the opposite. He was aware this would be challenging. He recognized the prejudices he faced. However, now, being in that courtroom and observing as everyone appeared to turn against him, it felt even more daunting than he had expected. The judge announced a short break, and while the courtroom cleared, Jamal remained seated, gazing forward. He had no idea what would happen next, but he was certain of one thing. This was far from over. He would fight for his children regardless of how many lies Lauren spread or how many people believed her. He wouldn't allow her to change the past, not in this manner. He was unable to stay calm. He refused to let this situation pass without making an effort to speak with her, to reach her before it became too late. Perhaps he might be able to reason with her. Perhaps deep down, behind her self-satisfied facade, Lauren would come to see how harmful this route was, not only for him, but for their kids as well. Jamal stood up gradually, his legs heavy as he navigated through the courtroom, maneuvering past the small gathering until he arrived at the door. Upon entering the hallway, the air seemed to be cooler, yet it failed to soothe his anxiety. He noticed Lauren positioned by the window, her arms folded, gazing out at the bustling city beneath. She appeared calm, nearly satisfied with herself, as if this was merely another game in her eyes. He paused for a second, uncertain if he truly wanted to proceed with this, but then he considered their children, his children, and realized he had to make an effort. He couldn't allow this to escalate anymore. "Lauren," he called gently, approaching her. She spun around, her face changing from apathy to slight astonishment, then returning to that same frosty, self-satisfied expression. "What do you need, Jamal?" Jamal inhaled deeply, attempting to maintain a calm tone. "I just want to chat, if only for a moment." Lauren exhaled, evidently indifferent, but gestured for him to continue. "What's there to discuss?" "I've expressed everything I needed to in court." "That's the issue," Jamal replied, his irritation barely restrained. "You didn't speak the truth in there, Lauren. This isn't correct. You are not telling the truth, and you are aware of it. The children do not merit this. They have the right to understand that we both care about them, and that collaboration is possible, even if we can't be together. They require their father." Lauren's gaze sharpened, and she cocked her head in bewilderment. "I'm not being dishonest, Jamal. I'm acting in the best interest of the children. They require stability, and it's obvious that you can't provide that for them. Do you believe in standing by the truth? Give us a thumbs up and subscribe." Jamal gritted his teeth, his hands forming fists at his sides. He stepped nearer, softening his tone. "Do you genuinely think that? Or is it merely about victory, about getting back at me? If you continue on this path, you're not only hurting me but also the children. They will find out, Lauren. They will mature, and they'll understand everything that's happening. Do you sincerely believe that? Or is it just about winning, about getting back at me? Do you genuinely wish for them to hold a grudge against you for complicating this unnecessarily?" For a brief instant, a glimmer appeared in Lauren's eyes, something resembling uncertainty. but it vanished just as swiftly, replaced by an icy grin. She dismissed him with a shrug, as though it was insignificant. "You're overreacting, Jamal. I'm carrying out what is required. You've enjoyed your independence, living without significant obligations, while I've been stuck handling it all. This is what you deserve. You really don't understand, do you? This no longer concerns you. It's about fulfilling my desires, and I want the kids beside me. And if you think this is the end, think again." The next video will delve into another gripping tale of perseverance in the face of adversity. You won't want to miss it. Jamal sensed the impact of her words strike him like a blow to the stomach. There was no arguing with her. She was set on winning regardless of the consequences. His chest constricted, the tension increasing until it seemed he could hardly breathe. He averted his gaze from her, feeling untrusting of his ability to speak further. His sight became a bit hazy while he strolled through the corridor, looking for a restroom. Someplace, anywhere he could simply inhale, just reflect momentarily, without the space tightening around him. He discovered the bathroom, nudging the door ajar and tripping in. He held onto the sink, his head lowered as he gazed at the watermarks on the porcelain. He gasped for air in shallow, uneven breaths, his heart racing violently as if it could explode from his chest. It wasn't just. None of this was just. He had endeavored to be the best dad possible, aimed to do good by his children, and yet here he found himself, battling against deceit, against prejudices, against a system that appeared intent on portraying him in the most negative way. A sob slipped from his throat before he was able to halt it. He clenched his jaw, doing his best to hold it together, but the tears flowed regardless, warm and painful as they streamed down his cheeks. He loathed this, loathed the helplessness he experienced, how powerless he was to alter anything. How was he supposed to fight for his children when the odds were so heavily against him? For a brief instant, he allowed himself to crumble, his shoulders trembling as he bent over the sink, the tears streaming unabated now. He did not desire this. He had not wished to be in this situation, battling the mother of his kids. He simply sought tranquility. He merely wished for his children to enjoy the life they earned, with both parents who cared for them. Yet, as the minutes passed, a recollection emerged, one he hadn't recalled in ages. He was a boy once more, standing in the yard with his father, the sun dipping down behind the trees. His father was a reserved individual, not given to lengthy talks or grand displays, yet Jamal had always admired him. He recalled how his father had once said to him, in that deep, unwavering voice, "Son, life isn't always just, but you should keep fighting for what's right, even if it seems like everyone's against you." Those words resonated in Jamal's thoughts, soothing him, grounding him. His father had confronted his own struggles, different yet equally challenging, and he had never lost hope. Jamal brushed his face with the back of his hand, inhaling deeply. He wasn't going to quit either. Not now, not ever. His children were worth defending, regardless of what Lauren aimed at him. 5 minutes remained until the recess was over. The time had come. Jamal stood up straight, looking at his image in the mirror. His eyes remained red, his face taut, but the tears had vanished. His hands were trembling a bit, yet he tightened them into fists, pushing himself to remain strong. He exited the bathroom, heading back to the courtroom. He sensed the heaviness of what lay ahead, yet he no longer felt fear. The reality was in his favor, and that was what counted. He wasn't about to let Lauren's falsehoods determine his identity. He wasn't going to allow her to triumph. Upon re-entering the courtroom, his attorney gave him a nod, her eyes reflecting a sense of calm resolve. Jamal settled into his chair, his heart calm now, his thoughts focused. The judge walked back into the room, and the conversation quieted as the session began again. The moment had come for Jamal to testify, to share his perspective, to advocate for his children, regardless of the challenges he would face. He was not going to give in, neither now nor ever. As his name echoed through the air, Jamal stood up from his chair, his legs firm beneath him, even with the significance of the occasion. All eyes in the courtroom were focused on him at that moment, some doubtful, while others were apathetic. He sensed the tension surrounding him, a tension that had been escalating since the judge initiated the case. But this was it, his opportunity to speak the truth, to reveal the falsehood that had been meticulously built up against him. Could you stand firm when the world doubts you? Share your experiences or encouragement in the comments. As he approached the witness stand, he held his head high. His feelings, although bubbling just beneath the surface, were under control. He couldn't permit himself to break, not at this moment. The future of his children relied on his ability to remain calm and collected. Jamal took a seat, fixed the microphone placed before him, and waited. His attorney, a woman named Maria, who had supported him through every difficult moment of this case, stood up with the quiet assurance of someone who understood the truth was in their favor. "Mr. Williams," Maria began, her voice firm and clear, "can you please tell the court what your involvement has been in your children's lives since your separation from Ms. Reynolds?" Jamal leaned into the microphone a bit, his voice steady yet determined. "I've been their father," he said. The words straightforward, but laden with significance. "I've been the one caring for them each and every day since Lauren left." Support dedicated fathers like Jamal by subscribing to our channel. Click the bell to receive updates on stories that stand for truth and justice. His declaration created a stir in the courtroom, with a few individuals shifting in their chairs. The difference between Lauren's previous account, her emotional tale of parenting alone, and Jamal's clear statement was already beginning to question the established narrative. "Could you clarify what you mean by taking care of them?" Maria asked, allowing Jamal the opportunity to elaborate. Jamal agreed. "I'm the one who awakens them each morning, prepares them for school, and ensures they have breakfast. I take them to school, collect them afterward, and assist with their assignments. I've brought them to all the doctor's visits and every school conference. I'm available for them when they're unwell, when they require someone to speak with, and when they seek solace. I've been their only supporter, both financially and emotionally, ever since Lauren chose not to be involved." A silence ensued after he spoke, a silence that conveyed a lot. Even the judge, who had appeared seemingly unconcerned until this point, glanced up with an arched eyebrow, evidently surprised by the striking disparity between Jamal's account and the narrative Lauren had presented. Maria walked to the bench holding a pile of documents. "Your Honor," she spoke to the judge, "I wish to submit evidence that backs Mr. Williams's claim. These documents from the children's school indicate that Mr. Williams has attended every parent-teacher meeting over the past year. We also possess medical records indicating that he has accompanied them to all of their appointments. Moreover, we possess affidavits from neighbors and teachers, all of whom are able to confirm that the kids have resided with Mr. Williams full-time." Truth has a way of surfacing, doesn't it? Want to see more stories that challenge falsehoods? Hit the subscribe button. The judge looked at the pile of documents, his demeanor gradually changing from skepticism to something resembling disbelief. He signaled for the clerk to gather the documents, and as the papers were given to him, He started to flip through them. The courtroom was incredibly quiet, allowing the soft sound of paper to be heard as the judge turned the pages of the records, his brow knitting with every sheet. It was evident now that the picture Lauren had created was beginning to fracture. The judge, who had earlier been prone to think the worst of Jamal, confronted undeniable evidence showing the reality was much different than he'd presumed. "Mr. Williams," the judge ultimately stated, his tone calmer now, "it seems that you have primarily been the one accountable for your children's upbringing. Why hasn't this been clarified until now? Isn't it refreshing when facts pierce through the fog of fiction? If you believe in standing by the truth, give us a thumbs up and subscribe." Jamal noticed the subtle suggestion in the judge's inquiry that he may have played a role in enabling Lauren's story to prevail, but he refused to ignore it. "With all due respect, Your Honor," Jamal started, his tone composed yet resolute. "I never believed I needed to validate myself as a father. I never believed I needed to appear in court to prove that I've supported my children. I assumed it would be clear, but apparently that's not how it goes. A part of me wished things hadn't unfolded this way with Lauren, yet I realize now she's beyond help." The judge's gaze sharpened a bit, but Jamal pressed on. "I've been present from the beginning," Jamal went on, his voice becoming stronger now, more assured. "I've nurtured these kids, I've cared for them, and I've given up so much for them. Simply being a man, simply being black, doesn't imply that I don't care, doesn't imply that I don't take action. I don't match the stereotype that Lauren expects from me. I'm not an uninvolved dad who deserted his children. I am their father, and I've been striving to provide them with a steady, nurturing home." The atmosphere in the courtroom changed. It wasn't only the judge now. All were focused. The jury, the onlookers, even Lauren's attorney appeared surprised by Jamal's silent resilience, by how he was steadily unraveling each untruth that had been directed at him. Maria, sensing the opportunity, moved forward once more. "Mr. Williams, you stated that you've been the only supporter for your children. Could you share additional details about the financial assistance you've offered?" Jamal agreed. "I've been juggling 2 jobs since Lauren departed. I ensure the children have